What's up guys, it's Danta and well, today I'm going to show you how to complete the Mage Tower challenge for your Enhancement Shaman. Now usually I would say in an easy way, but this tower can get you pretty mad, so beware. Anyway, this isn't the hardest challenge that there is, so don't worry about that, but there are just a couple of things that can get you really pissed. So with all that being said, let's just start with our gear. Okay, so this is the gear that I'm using. Basically, it's just filled up with Shadowlands gear. However, I bought these two weapons and I applied Crusader on them. Now, you don't need to do that. It's not really necessary because Shamans have a nice self-heal, but it will help you in some situations, especially during this fight. There are a couple of mechanics that just deal an insane amount of damage, and I hate it. And that's why I bought these weapons, applied some Crusader enchant on it, so that I would have some more self-healing whenever I was attacking the bosses. So it's totally up to you. Now, if you want to have the Crusader enchant on your weapon, just make sure you buy a cheap 49 level weapon, or 45 as you can see. You can't apply it on weapons that are higher than level 50, so just buy anything that's cheap. I don't want to have you guys spend like 20k just for a mage tower, that's bullshit. So just buy anything that's cheap if you want to do that. Otherwise, just use the weapons that you like. It doesn't really matter. Now, the only item that I would recommend for you to get is, well, the ravaged seed pot, as usual. So many of you know probably already that this trinket is one of the most OP items to have during the Mage Tower challenges. So this trinket can be farmed and it has a very high drop chance as well. This trinket drops from the Emerald Nightmare, from the first boss Nyfendra, and you can do it 4 times a week. You can kill Nyfendra on normal, mythic, heroic and LFR, so that's why you have 4 attempts. If you want to attempt any other Mage Tower challenge on any other class, just start farming this trinket already, because this is probably one of the best trinkets to have for any class that there is. So yeah, that's actually all there is to my gear. Now, once again, you don't need this, you don't need those weapons, right? But if you want to make it a little bit easier, just get them. So as for the talents that I'm using, it's just a single target build. Now there are a couple of things that you can change around, like having Elemental Blast instead of Lashing Flames, because Elemental Blast would probably give you a little bit more DPS, but as some of you probably know, I hate it whenever I have more buttons than necessary, so I just went with Lashing Flames. And it works as well, so just choose whatever you like here. For the second row, just go with Storm Flurry. The third row, absolutely Earth Shield, because that will just keep healing you up. So for the next one, we have Elemental Assault, because the other ones, you don't really need them. So just go with Elemental Assault. Then we have Nature's Guardian. At the 45 row, we have Sundering, which is necessary, and I'm going to tell you why whenever we are going to talk about the fight itself. Now, as for the last row, you can choose whatever you like. I tried a couple of attempts with Earth and Spike. I got close, then swapped around to Elemental Spirits, then swapped around to Ascendance, so I tried them all. The only thing that I don't like about Ascendance, because a lot of people are going with Ascendance, right? But the only thing that I don't like about it is that it has a 3-minute cooldown, which is damn long. And in those 3 minutes, you can use your Elemental Spirits with this talent just like 2 or 3 times already. So that's why I went with the Wolves. Also, this fight requires you to walk around pretty much a lot. So it's nice to have these Wolves up, which can just keep dealing damage while you are moving around in the place. That's why I went with Elemental Spirits, but you can choose whatever you like. Alright guys, so during this fight we have to deal with 3 bosses, and well, they all have their own unique abilities, so this fight can become a clusterfuck eventually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to keep this as simple and easy for you guys to follow as possible, and I'm going to explain what each boss does and how you can counter it. So whenever you enter the boss room, you will see that Sigryn is going to yell at you. Basically, the first thing that you have to do here is just sit down, take your food, take your flask, wait till she is done yelling at you, and then you can start the fight. Now, let's talk about Sigryn first. So Sigryn is the leader of all of them. And Basically, she is going to empower them throughout the fight a couple of times. But that's not the only thing. She's also casting an ability herself. And the ability that she casts is called Blood of the Father. Now, Blood of the Father is an ability that will absolutely destroy you if you don't interrupt it. So that's why I said during the talent section that Sundering is pretty much necessary. Now, you also have an Hex. I know, you can use Hex as well. But Sundering is an instant interrupt. So you just smash it on the ground and it immediately interrupts Sigryn's Blood of the Father cast. Now, if you time it well, you will interrupt her cast and she won't cast it again for like 1 minute or maybe even 2 minutes. Now, if you fail to use Sundering in the right way, you always have a backup Hex as well. So you can always deal with Blood of the Father, but if you get used to using Sundering at the right moment to interrupt her, this fight will be a lot easier. Now, if you have trouble with knowing whenever these bosses are going to cast what, just install Little Wigs and Big Wigs. They are an add-on and they basically just show you timers on what these bosses are going to do and when they are going to do it. So these are nice add-ons to have. So that's basically Sigryn's ability that you have to deal with all the time during this fight. Meanwhile, she is just going to throw down some spears, which will leave a puddle behind. And don't get me wrong, even though they're just puddles, they can just fuck up your entire run. We will talk about that later, but yeah, just keep moving out of that. Avoid all the shit that you see. And that's actually it for Sigryn. Alright, so next up we have runeseer Faljar, or whatever his name is. So basically he does nothing special. He's just spamming shadow bolts at you. That's actually it. After a while, Sigryn will start empowering him. And whenever she does that, he will get a green shield. Whenever he has that shield around him, he's going to channel an ability and you have to interrupt it. Now, the only way to interrupt it is by destroying his shield. So what you have to do is zerg down his shield. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is by timing the ravaged seedpod trinket whenever he's going to get a shield. So you just drop that trinket, start damaging his shield, and his shield should get away pretty fast. And now whenever you have removed his shield, all you gotta do is just interrupt that guy, and that's how you deal with him. So the Jarl is the last boss that we have to talk about. Now his melee attacks don't deal a lot of damage, so don't worry about that. But his other 3 abilities, they can deal a lot of damage. So his first ability that he's going to cast is an ability that makes him stand still and throw a lot of axes. Now, whenever you get hit by an axe, you will get a lot of damage. So what you have to do is just keep moving around in the room, avoid these axes, or, as I like to do, it's a little bit risky, but you can also just try to get all these bosses together, and while he's just standing still, try to get as much DPS in as you can, because that way this fight will be over a lot faster. But it's totally up to you. If you want to play it safe, don't do that, avoid the axes, and don't try to group them up whenever he's casting that ability. Now that's one of the 3 abilities that he has. So after a while, Sigryn is going to empower him as well. Now whenever he is empowered, he will start running after you for 9 seconds with a lot of damage. So what you have to do is you have to slow him with your slowing totem, and you just have to kite him around. So one of the things that would make it easier to deal with that ability is to use your stone elemental whenever he is going to chase you, because your stone boy will just tank everything, right? That way you can just deal with Sigryn and the caster instead of having to run away from his massive damage. So those are the 2 things that you can use whenever he's chasing you. Now, the last ability that he has is called Bladestorm. All you gotta do for that is just interrupt it with your stun totem. That's actually all you have to do to counter his Bladestorm. Alright, so there are just 3 more things that happen during this fight. So these 3 things that you gotta keep your eyes for open are the angels that you see on my screen. They basically just charge through you and they deal an insane amount of damage. So just position yourself in the right place and make sure they don't charge through you. Now another thing that you've probably also seen on my screen are these purple sigils. So these purple sigils basically get smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually they vanish. So what you have to do is you have to walk over them. If you don't do that, you will die because it deals like 10k damage whenever it vanishes. So make sure you keep running over these sigils. Now the last thing happening in this fight is these angels charging on the ground and leaving a golden orb. So whenever you're getting low HP, just walk over one of these golden orbs and it will heal you. So it's basically just a free heal during this fight. So what I want to do now is just give you guys a couple of tips and how to deal with a couple of things that can screw up your challenge. So now you know what you have to deal with during this fight. And I know it's a lot, but basically what you have to do is just keep entering the tower, keep doing this fight. Eventually you will get the hang of it and you will know what these bosses do, at what moment and at what time. Now, one of the things that made this fight a lot easier for me, besides the trinket of course, was not CCing Sigryn. Because back in Legion you could just CC Sigryn, leave her in the corner and deal with these other two. But now if you are going to do that and you don't have enough damage, she will eventually start empowering everyone whenever they reach 30% HP. And whenever that happens, you have to deal with the Berserker's Rage, you have to deal with the Blade Storm, the Blood of the Father, and the Shield at the same time, every 15 or 30 seconds. It sucks. And it's also one of the reasons why my Paladin kept dying for like 60 times. So the most important thing, in my opinion, in this entire fight is by just trying to do as much damage as you can and as much cleave damage. Now, one of the most annoying things during this fight is actually the fact that eventually the Jarl will get buffed and there will be these runes spawning. So the Jarl will start running after you. He will start bashing your head in 3 seconds. And well, you have to run over the runes while he's near you. So one of the best things to do then is have your stone elemental up so he can taunt him while you are running over the runes. So that's something you might want to keep in mind, because it will help you out a lot whenever that happens. Now, another annoying thing that can happen during this fight is whenever the runeseer is going to stand in a puddle, gets empowered by Sigryn, and he gets a shield. So whenever that happens, he's not going to move out of the puddle. So you have to stand in the puddle and basically just burn yourself to death, probably. That's actually all there is to this fight. You have to deal with a lot of mechanics, you gotta keep your eyes open, so you gotta worry about the runes, you gotta worry about the Valkyries, and you gotta deal with the bosses. Whenever you get the hang of it, after a couple of attempts, I'm sure you'll get this. It's just a fight that you gotta get used to, and eventually after some time, you will for sure complete it. Now, one more thing before I'm going to end this video, make sure that you are going to download little wigs and big wigs or install any weak auras, because having these timers will make this fight a lot better. So guys, first of all, if you made it, congratulations with your shaman set. It looks pretty cool. I hope that this video was easy to follow and that it was helpful for you guys. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and well, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.